Hey guys, how are y'all today? Sorry, I was looking at a question. So, uh, how I hope everybody's doing well. Sorry for the 2 weeks that I didn't wasn't here. Hopefully, you can see me, hear me. Somebody give me a thumbs up and tell me anybody's out there because currently it is showing absolutely zero viewers. There we go. I see some people popping in. I guess a little delayed reaction here. Um, Let me know that you can hear and see, and we'll get started. So today is, hey Caroline. There weren't a lot of questions today. There were some I'm not going to be able to answer today because I'm going to have to figure out what you're actually talking about. Sandra, yours is one of those questions that I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about, but I think I can show you. Um, Amanda, I'm going to show you a different way to do what you were talking about because um I yours is a little interesting. So technically, yes, I can bring an SVG into Artspira and I can turn it into an embroidery file. But text is not one of those things that's going to do that well because it's looking at the background and it all depends on the text. And since you've got PE Design 10 or 11, I think you said 10, you can do it there so much easier. I'm not sure why you went to Inkscape first instead of doing it in PE Design to begin with, because you can use your TrueType fonts in PE Design. But if it has to be an SVG, there is a way around what you did. So I'm going to show you both ways first, and then we will see where we go from. I guess I need to say I want to share a screen, don't I? So we're going to start in PE Design. I'm using 11 because my computer does not like it. Just simply does not like 10. This computer, they're but I mean, I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. It's a little bizarre, but it is what it is. And I'm really not sure why I have a black line around everything. Let's see if I can close that and see if it comes up differently. No, they have all got that. That's weird. That must be something. Oh, yours font is an open type font and not a true type font. Well, that would explain why you were going to an SVG. So let me see here. I'm going to show you what happened to me before I kind of dig into this. We'll start with Artspira. Why is it not seeing my desktop? There we go. Hold on. Hang tight. Let me share Artspira first once I find where it is. There we go. Okay. So let's see here. So in Artspira, let me cancel out of this and we'll go home. You touch new and you would touch image to embroidery and you choose the hoop size that you want to go. What I found was that when I went to import, you can choose from your camera roll or from other sources. A JPEG may have worked better. I didn't try that. When I hit other sources and I chose my USB device, here's my SVG that I was testing out. And this is what I got. So I wasn't real impressed with it working with text. So that is what I got. For some reason, it was looking when that SVG converted. If we go back and let's change the image and do it again. So let's cancel that and let's import again and go back in here. So if we look at the SVG in the beginning, so look right here. See how it's closed that in? And then when I say preview, that's turned into stitches. So that whole blob there is turned into stitches. It's something with the way it's handling the SVG file. Let's see if I do that same thing in a JPEG. Hold on. I'm gonna let's go to BES for just a second, and I'll just do the same thing I just did, and we'll export it as a JPEG. Oops. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. We're going to go to the G drive, I guess it is, and we'll call this test. And let's see what it does with this one. So now let me eject this drive and we'll go back in. Wait. So I'm going to put my USB back in my tablet here. Oops, wrong thing. There we go. Okay, so let's just say cancel that and import again. And we'll choose other sources one more time. And this time it should be a test JPEG right there. And let's see here. We want to go digitizing and preview. I think this one will actually work better. It does, except for it gives you that D and that space in the center. But let's see here. Can we remove the background? Now, if we remove the background, it should take out that center of the D. Oh, it put it back in. So let's see here. Remove background was automatically selected. But you could skip that. Let's change it again. Let's try it one more time. We just don't have as much control here. Although there's some great things about this, you just don't have as much control. Let's take it down to number of colors 1 and preview. Let's see if we get what we want. There you go. So if you take your number of colors down to 1 and use a JPEG instead of an SVG, you'll have better luck. Okay. And just take the number of colors down to 1 and you should be good. Now, having said that, if you want to use the SVG file, let me stop sharing this screen. And you're in, it doesn't matter P Design 10 or 11. Actually, Next has this feature as well. Let me put my USB in here, because that's where I saved that to. Under import patterns, you have the capability to import from a vector image, and that's what your SVG would be. So then if I go to my desktop here, here's my G drive. Here's that test SVG. If I open that one up, there you go. So you do have the capability of doing it here in P Design without going anywhere else. And here you could actually ungroup things and change your stitch type. So let me take off show by color order here. So if I wanted to grab my C and I wanted to go to my sewing attributes, I could say have it auto curve, and then it would follow the curve instead of going straight across. And I can also change my stitch type to a satin stitch. You could do the same thing for the eye, auto curve, change it to a satin stitch. I don't know that we would do auto curve on that one. Let's see what happens when I do that. There you go. You could do the same thing to the end. Change it to a satin stitch. So, I mean, it gives you some more options, and that's what I would say. I think you'll get some better results. You also will have control over your undersewing and those kind of things. So if you had BES Blue or BES 4, I would tell you they handle open type fonts. P Design just simply doesn't at this time. Okay, next one was Sandra. Let me see what your question was. It was something about using the rhinestone feature and the shapes. So my question for you is, let me sign in here. I'm not real sure. What are you wanting to do with the rhinestones? Are you just wanting to make those holes for the kids to be able to stitch in? Help me out here for a second. Because we can certainly create rhinestone templates. That's not a problem. And you can do that in P Design or BES, or excuse me, P Design, not P Design, well, in BES4 with Power Pack 2 or in Canvas Workspace with the rhinestone feature. Yeah, Amanda, I would tell them that they're better off using the fonts that are built in at this time. So unfortunately, it's just not going to handle it well. Spacing circles about 1/4 of an inch from 2 identical shapes to teach each child hand. Just holds. Okay. That one's interesting. So I don't know that the rhinestone template is going to, rhinestone feature is going to do exactly what you want it to do, but let's see what we can do here. Choose your stone size. You can get pretty big. So if you're talking about doing big, you can do pretty big. We can do a grid function, and then you can space them 1/4 of an inch apart. So 0.25 and 0.25. So that gives you a basic shape with the circles, and they're about 1/4 of an inch. And that's as large of a stone size as we have. Now, if you'd rather do something different, I mean, you could technically come in here. Let's find us like a heart or a circle. Oh, okay. Well, then shoot, this would be the easier way to do it. So let's come in here, just the edge of the shape. So let's see if we do a heart. So instead of doing the center, we would do an outline, and you can space them 1/4 of an inch apart. Oops. There you go. And then you could bring it in. I would probably echo my heart first, but if I took this and put it over the top of that, actually, and then come into my properties, and let's see here, if we choose an offset, you could go outward, and you could go, let's say we do a 1/2 inch. 0.52 is close enough. There you go. So now get rid of the first. Let's go into our layers window and get rid of that first shape, that one right there. And that would work. Okay. Make the circles smaller, it's just large needles. Well, I mean, all you got to do is, I mean, it's changing the size of the stone. So if I want to come back into my rhinestone feature and change my stone size to a smaller size, there you go. So you have that capability. And if I ungroup this and then come in and grab the stones and just group the stones, now I can grab that heart, and I don't have to draw another one in. Come back over to your edit menu and offset, and then move it where you want it to be. And we can delete the original line. So we're not dealing with 2 lines, but that would give them to you about 1/4 of an inch apart and allow you to play with it. Now, once I've taken that original heart away, my stones are no longer available for me to edit in the same manner. So if I came in and grabbed a stone, it's not going to, I can change that specific stone size, but I can't change it all as a group. So yes, Linda, you can cut felt on the ScanNCut. It cuts best. So if you don't want to put anything on the back of your felt, it cuts best with the rotary auto blade, because it does, and I'm crooked as the day is long here today. It does, the rotary auto blade will allow it to go around it without pushing and pulling and dragging. If you're going to use your rotary auto, if you're not going to use the rotary auto blade, you need to put something on the back of it, whether it be stabilizer or a fusible, something needs to be on the back of it if you're not going to use the rotary autoclave. That's my specific. How do I clean it off the mat? Okay, y'all have heard me say this a gazillion times. Technically, I'm supposed to tell you baby wipe without alcohol. That's not what I do. I use Totally Awesome. I lightly spread across it. I take my scraper and lightly rub it until all the junk comes into the middle. Take a paper towel, dry it off, just wiping it gently. You're never scrubbing. If you scrub it, you will take the glue off the mat. Okay. Do not dilute it. The water messes up the glue. For some reason, the Totally Awesome works wonderful. Do not let it sit there. It will dissolve your glue. So you're just spraying it on there, spritz it on there. I actually carry a little travel size of Totally Awesome with me. And this is not a brother authorized product. This is a Cindy authorized product. It's what I use. It's how I keep my mats clean. Been doing it since the very first ScanNCut came out. And my mats, I still have mats from the very first ScanNCut that my stepmother is working with. So it works. You're fine with them. They're still going to get over time. They're still going to get a little less sticky, but they work great. But the biggest thing I can say is lightly rub it across it. Take that scraper, the little scraper tool that you can get, and just kind of lightly rub it across it. You know, when I don't have that, yes, I've been known to use a room key from my hotel. But just lightly rub it across it. Take a paper towel and gently wipe off the sludge. Make sure that it is totally dry before you put your dust cover back on. If you don't, guess what? Whatever wasn't dry is not going to have a glue spot on it there. Ask me how I know. So just that, I mean, it's just the cheap old yellow Totally Awesome. I don't do the citrus variety. I just use the yellow Totally Awesome. Okay. And yes, that is what you buy at the Dollar Tree. It's $1.25 now, and the refill's $1.25 as well. You can get it on Amazon, but you're going to pay more for it. So yeah, Dollar Tree. Felt doesn't shrink when you're cut on the ScanNCut. It's, as it's not gonna, it doesn't have that suck-in factor that some fabrics do. So I do not rinse it off afterwards. Water never touches my ScanNCut mat. Jan, see if you can get the kink out of it. Okay, that's the first thing. And the second thing I would tell you is that if that doesn't work and you still can't get it in, sometimes I'll hold one side a little bit harder, push one side a little bit harder than the other to get it going in the track. What happens is on the back of your ScanNCut mat, the loading roll, the way it loads in, you get grooves on the back end of it. If that doesn't work, then what I would tell you is lightly rub a piece of sandpaper, fine grit sandpaper over the back to get rid of the grooves right at the edge. Just to where it's initially pulling in, it's pulling in that track of crookedness. So especially if it loaded crooked more than once, then it has a tendency to want to do that again. And once again, not brother authorized. This is how we've learned to do things. So just lightly rub sandpaper on the back of that to get that groove out of the memory. I've also been known to put a little paper tape over the top of that groove, just on the back side. So, and once again, I cannot stress this enough. Never, ever, ever use painter's tape or the Floriani So Perfect tape. None of that kind of painter's tape type thing do you want to use with your ScanNCut. Why? Because it doesn't stay on the mat and it has a tendency to curl up and get stuck to your scanner glass. And there is nothing more miserable than trying to get tape off your scanner glass. I've had to have a machine taken totally apart because of blue painter's tape. So I don't use that ever again. I will either use washi tape, which is in your scrapbooking section, or I use medical paper tape, and I buy that from Amazon by the gross because I can get it in little bitty 1/4-inch rolls that's perfect. So that's your least expensive option. and it works wonderfully. And I also use that with embroidery because I found that the plastic medical tape, although it holds nicely, when I peel it out, it tends to, if I've only got one running stitch, then it tends to pull that out. Paper tape doesn't do that. The other thing about paper tape is if I get it stuck to my ScanNCut, I can use my Totally Awesome, let it set for just a second, and then peel it up. The biggest thing I can tell you about your ScanNCut mats is never, ever, ever leave something on it overnight. Most importantly, never leave tape on it overnight. When you're done with the tape, make sure you get it all off of there, because if you don't, you're going to have a bare spot on your mat. That's just the way it works, because the grip to the grip, when you peel it off after it's been sitting there for a few days, it peels that off. Okay. Let me see what else we had on our questions this week. Let me see here. Let's see here. What else have I got? So Amanda, I did not see this. Sorry that I did not see this email, and that's been a long time ago. Did you ever figure out your Special Olympics Minnesota problem? Evidently, I didn't know that. And also, Brother Sublimation printer. If you're gonna go, so you're asking me about heat presses. Heat presses are, there's a lot of factors to consider when you talk about a heat press. What is my budget? What do I want to have? Okay. So I have a mug press back there. If I had to do it over again, I would not buy the mug press. I spent over 300 bucks on a mug press. I've got multiple attachments for it, but it stinks. It truly stinks. It is not the sublimation printer because it's paper, because it does not do that with my regular heat press. It is that mug press. Whatever is in that rubber that they have, it reeks. And there's not one out there that people don't complain about. I would buy a sublimation oven. So fryers work and convection ovens work. You do not want to use one that you're actually planning on cooking in. So it's not your regular oven if it's got convection in it. So I'm not going to put it in my regular oven, because you don't want the gases to go in your food. Okay. So if I were going to do it again, I would have probably bought a convection oven, because that is actually going to end up going outside the next time I use it, because I honestly, my whole house smells like it is terrible. My house smells like it for days. So even if I open my windows, and in the middle of winter, I'm opening my windows and trying to get it out of here. So if I had to do it again, I would buy a convection oven or an air fryer or a sublimation oven. Spend that out. Okay. What was I going to say? But it really depends on factors. I've heard nice things about the HTV Ront auto press. What I have heard negatives about it is that it may not give you enough pressure. So you may have to add a cushion underneath it or something, or maybe add cardboard in between it if it's not putting enough pressure on things. There are others out there that are pull downs. I will personally never buy another swing away, because I burnt myself more. My first one was a swing away. It was a little night heat press, and it worked great. Don't get me wrong. The timer wasn't very good. It wasn't automatic. That's one thing that I like having. I like being able to set my temperature and my time before I actually start the thing. And when I press pull down, then it starts the timer. One thing I wish I had gotten was one with a pull-out drawer. I do not have one with a pull-out drawer. Mine's a pull down. But it really depends on your price point and what you can afford. So just do a little bit of research and see what you want. Those are my personal preferences. I did spend quite a bit on mine. I think I spent over 1,100 bucks on mine. And if I had to do, but back then, that was kind of the going rate. The one I had to begin with was inexpensive. It was like $175 at the most. but it was a swing away. So when I say that, instead of lifting straight up and you being able to get in the center, you have to swing it away. And I was constantly burning myself. I mean, I burnt my hands, I burnt my arms, so I decided to get rid of that. Um, yeah, I mean, I would look if your sewing machine dealer sells them, I would go look there and see what they've got. So like my dealer sold me mine, and I that way I know what it is. And Carolyn says she loves it. So, you know, and that one's really not expensive at all. So, I mean, I think that one was like the HTV Ront's like $2.99. And you know, I can, if you're interested in that, it would help me out if I give you a little Amazon Associates link. I'll get a few pennies off of that one. So I'll be happy to do that for you if that's something you're interested in. And Christy says she likes the Racoma heat press. So yeah, I love the auto release. I love being able to set that timer. So mine has a dual timer. So I can have my pre-press and then my final time on the end of it. Or if I'm doing HTV and I need to basically tack it and then put in something else on top of it, then I have my final number. So it's got a dual timer on it. So one does like 5 seconds. You set it for whatever you want. But if I'm tacking something down or if I'm trying to remove the moisture from a garment, then I set that first timer for 5 seconds. Then I go and put the next item on and it does the final however much I need. One thing I will tell you with most heat presses, you probably want to get a heat temperature gun so you can check to see if your heat press is running too hot or too cold. That way, especially with sublimation, you don't burn your shirts. I will also, yes, at least 15 inches or above, because you're going to want to do a full chest. So I'm trying to, I don't remember. I think mine's about 16, but I don't remember. You want to check the temperature of your heat press, especially with sublimation, because you're subbing on polyester and polyester can melt. So having that heat gun to verify that your temperature is the temperature you want it to be is a really nice thing. And I would suggest that. Don't bother, for those of you that don't know about sublimation. Sublimation is for polyester, basically. It's the more polyester content that you have, the better off your results are going to be. If you are trying to sublimate on a 100% cotton shirt, don't bother with the spray. Just don't bother. Don't go there. Don't bother. Got it. Been there, done that, tried it. Not only does it release chemicals, but it scorches. So it doesn't do a very good job. I've tried, and it doesn't hold the ink as well. I tried it on a 50% cotton, 50% polyester item to see if it made any difference in how it held. It made no difference whatsoever. The same amount of ink transferred. So, I wouldn't bother. Okay. Now, what else was I going to say? Any other questions on that? I mean, I will tell you guys, I have had a blast with sublimation. I have made I've made some fun gifts. My favorites have been, I've done a cell phone case for my stepmother. I did a shirt for her with her dog. I did earrings for her with her dog, and I had a good key fob for her with her dog. I just the other day did my niece just had her second child. So for her first one, I did a t-shirt with him on it that says Best Big Brother. So had fun with that. You know, it's a nice way to do, and she ain't got that yet. So hopefully she's not watching today. Doubtful. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun, quick way, easy way to get a gift out the door and that looks good. So I've not had to play with the colors a lot. It's really my colors are pretty much true to life. Okay, so Diane has a question: how to put words around a circle. Yes. It is called Fit Text to Path, and this is in PE Design 11. So let me come over here. First thing you're going to do is draw a circle and turn off the stitches for both the outline and the fill. So draw the circle the size you want it to be. If you hold your shift key down, you'll draw a perfect circle. Then come in and grab your text tool. And then you are going, if you want text on the top and the bottom, you're going to grab this, copy it, and paste it down. So now I've got 2 circles. I'm going to grab my first circle and the first letter of my word, double click, fit text to outline. The first set, I'm going to leave everything at the default and just say OK. All right. Now I'm going to come in and type in my second line of text. And then grab my second circle, hold my control key down, and grab the first letter of my H. Grab it, fit text to outline. This time we're going to do a couple of different things. First thing is you want to put a check mark in front of the other side. Change your horizontal alignment to the one below the line. Where did that one go? Oh, not horizontal, vertical alignment, below the line. And then you're going to say, OK. Now it's upside down and backwards. You are going to go to, moved it. Rotate, flip, and you're going to flip vertical, and then you're going to flip horizontal, and you're in position. Now, if you grab your 2 circles and select them together, just the circles, you should be able to arrange center and arrange middle. Oh, didn't work. Wait a minute. What have I got? What have I got going on? It's going to make me eyeball it. Oh, actually, this is easier. Move to center. So actually grab each circle and move it, just Control M, and then the second circle, Control M. Let's see if that's going to work. Control M. There you go. Grab each circle and Control M it, and you're there. No, I do not rinse Totally Awesome off. I leave it on. Okay. DJ, I did a whole thing on font and a chain stitch a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago. But I'll kind of see if I can show you a little bit here in just a second. Let me answer text to path first. So before I go there, Diane, does that answer your question? That's your easiest way to get it done. Before I go there, somebody asked this question. Before I forget it, I'm going to go find, actually, let's go from Design Library here. Somebody asked me a question the other, and I have not answered this one yet. That's too big. Let me find miscellaneous. All right, the question was, can I put more than one thing on a circular path? Now, they didn't tell me if they were in P Design or BES, so I'm going with P Design. So here we go. I've grabbed them both. Arrange copy, circle copy. You can choose how many copies you want or how far apart you want. Draw your circle. And as you rotate, they're going to change position. So if I just go straight up and down, and if you look down at the bottom left-hand corner, it tells you when you're at 90 degrees, left click, and there you go. So yes, you can do it. That's how it works. You choose how many copies you're going to want. Arrange them the way you want them together, and then you're good to go. You want me to do that again? So here's my 2 items. Let me pick a bigger hoop so that we have a little bit more room to work with here. Here's my 2 items. And you could have as many as you want. I go circle copy, draw my circle, and then you can choose to do it by spacing or by number. So the first time I did it by number, this time I'll do it by the spacing. Right now they're spaced 0 millimeters apart. If I want them spaced a little bit further apart, I can do that. It will automatically decide how many copies it can place for you at that point. Now mine are upside down. That's because I clicked my down here. So if I undo that and do it again, and this time if I stop up this direction, they should be right side up. There you go. So now my coffee pots or whatever that thing is right side up. Okay. And that's how you do it. You can either choose number or spacing. All right. So, Amanda, how do you do text to path in BES Dream Edition with no power packs? Okay. Dream Edition. So BES 4. You go text. Do you want to do circular text or text on a path? So path text is this one right here. And when you click here, it brings up different paths for you to choose. Okay. So if you want it to go on a circular path to go all the way around it, that would be if you wanted the text to read all the way around it, you would choose the circular path. If you want it to go just arc on the top, you can do arc on the top. If you want a curve, you can do a curve. Then you just type in your text. And right click, and it sets it. Now I've got tree trap font selected. So if I come over here and I grab a different font, let's say we do bounce. Oops, and I misspelled here. So let's get rid of that. Then right mouse click. Then you can adjust your text along the path if you want. You use the little diamonds to do that. It's going to do everything behind the diamond. So if you want a diamond in front of your first, you can't move the first letter unless you put a space in front of it. So if I put a space in front of Amanda and apply it, now I can use that diamond to move the whole thing around. You can futz with it along your path. Okay. If you don't like that path, you can always right mouse click and go back to your text paths. And then you can pick a different one. Okay. If you got a new computer, you can load. What are we loading? P Design or BES, Diane? You're going to have to give me some information here. I'm a little confused. I love BES as well. It's one of my favorite pieces of software. If I right mouse click, I can edit my baseline. So if that's a little bit too severe of a curve, I can always move that baseline up, right mouse click, and it applies it the new baseline. You can play around and have fun with that one. You can also add points to the line. So if you edit your baseline, you can come in and right mouse click and say add a point. That adds you a point along your baseline. Right mouse click and it resets the path. So, I mean, it applies that path. So just because it's a path that's in there doesn't mean it's not that you can't use it. Now, if you're using this and you want it to be in, what am I trying to say? If you want it as artwork, okay? So if I have a font that has an O in front of it, there is a workaround to get fonts as artwork. So I've got Amanda was here. Let's take that off the path. Hold on. And let's just say reset frame. Actually, normal text. There we go. So if I choose a font with an O in front of it, those are outline fonts. I can change it from standard usually to an applique. All right. So there's my applique font. Now what I can do is go to my Tools tab and hit my ScanNCut button. Now I have that font as as artwork, and I can then export that as an FCM or an SVG file or an image file. So if you know, there are ways around everything, but it has to be a font with it that has an O in front of it. Let's see if it will let me do it with something else, even though I have all the power packs. Let's see here. Let's go to TrueType Fonts. Yeah, TrueType Fonts is not going to give me the applique function. So it has to be a font with an O in front of it. Okay. All right. BES. So what am I doing? Okay, so let's see here. If you have not taken, okay, so here's the deal on BES. BES 4 has 2 activations and 6 deactivations. Depending on how many times you have deactivated it and activated it on a new computer, depends on whether you can do this again. So technically you can have it on 2 computers at one time. And it could be moved from each of those two computers to a new computer 3 times. It cannot go more than that. So you can't, I mean, that's technically, you know, if you only used it on one computer, then you have 6 deactivations that you can go through. So it depends on what you've done. If you've only loaded it on your old computer, what I would do is deactivate it off that computer and activate it on the new computer. If you think you're going to want it on both, then, you know, use it on, go ahead and use that second activation on your new computer, and then you can still deactivate it off the old computer when you're ready to get rid of it. So that, I mean, that's how you can do that. Okay. BES Blue does not have the same feature as that. That's one of the reasons it's less expensive than BES 4, besides the fact that it doesn't have the wireless and it does not have the ability to connect, what am I trying to say? Add power packs to it. All right. Okay, guys. Chain stitch font. Okay. Hold on. Chain stitch font is a PE Design 11 question. Now, it depends on what you're doing and what how you're wanting to do this. So, you would turn off your fill stitch and you would turn off an outline, and actually turn on your outline, and you can change it to a chain stitch. That is not how I technically do mine. The reason being is because it's going to look better if it's on a single, but if you're good with it having a double run of both outlines, then you're fine with that. You could also convert it to convert to stitches, and then those stitches actually undo. That's not what I want to do. Hold on. What am I trying to do here? Let me think. Convert to outline, and then you could put a motif stitch in there, and there is a motif stitch that looks like a chain stitch. Or you could just put in a run stitch. Let's see what a fill stitch does. I haven't tried doing it this way. I would take off my undersewing. We're going to try and see what we can get this way. Ugh. And let's turn off the center of that D. Now you can convert. You're going to make me ungroup. Don't make me do it one letter at a time. What a pain in the patootie this one is. Convert region to line, and then you can change that region to a chain stitch. So, I mean, there's workarounds, but what I did was I created a font in the font creator program that is a running stitch font. So if I come down here and I find my UD fonts, here we go. So here's my running stitch font. And then I went to what did we do? Let's remember this. Let's convert it to blocks. That's what I did. Convert to blocks, and then I did the chain stitch. There you go. I had to remember what I did. It can do shapes from the ScanNCut as well. You import the FCM file, Linda. So let's go here. If I go up to the application button and I choose import and choose import artwork, yours will probably, if you don't have any power packs, yours is just going to say import FCM. And let's see here, bunny. So here's my bunny FCM file. Now let me move these little parts around. And I am going to change my colors here just a little bit so we can see what we've got going on. And let's see here. Let's fill these two. Let's fill these in. Oh, you're wanting to do it without power packs. So let me not do that. I was about to do a power pack thing. So easiest way to do it is to grab them all at one time. Convert to applique. Now, what I personally do, actually, I think that, hold on. Let's zoom out. I think this is supposed to be up top here. Right there. Because my whiskers are going to go across there. Now, there are a couple of ways you can remove your overlaps. You can try to do it all at one time. So if I were trying to set that down there, you'll notice that there is nothing covering that red line. So removing an overlap that way wouldn't be really possible. What you can do, though, is you can come in and you can add a design. So let's see here. What have I got? That would be about something that I could fill over that. Let's see if we add a cross here. And what have I got? Let me just take that. And let's get rid of everything else. Oops. So all I'm doing is selecting the parts that I don't want, because really I just am looking for something to get rid of that line. We'll delete all those other parts. Now, here we go. We can come in and take this, oops, drag this over the top, and I can rotate it a little bit and plop it up there. And let's see here. Let's come in and futz with this shape just a little bit. We're going to cheat a little bit. So I'm going to go to my tools and edit shape. And I can take, since it's a built-in design, I can come in here and I can edit it's lines. So I can come in and take that line and move it there. And there we go. So now we've got something covering all that up. But I want to move it up to where it is underneath the flower and the leaves. So I want it after the bunny, okay? Now, if I then come here and I zoom out, I can select it all, right mouse click and remove overlap stitches. I usually put that at 0 and say okay. Now my overlap is gone and everything should work, okay? If I come in here, now it looks like I may have one little diblet of a green piece right there, but no big deal. Then I can come in and put my whiskers in and convert those to runs. Tools, convert to run. That convert to run is a Power Pack 1 feature. So if you don't have that, you could convert that to an applique and then preserve as stitches and delete everything besides, let's see here, delete everything except for the first stitch in each section. Okay. I would need to preserve this section as stitches as well. And once again, delete everything but the first section. Now you got your whiskers. Oh, it looks like I got 2 of those. There we go. And they can be whatever color you want them to be. So if you want those to be black, I can then come over here and make those black. Okay. Sandra, there are tons of differences between 10 and 11. One of the biggest ones that I find is the applique feature. In previous versions, I could not turn a section of a regular design into an applique. I can do that now. I also, if I was trying to do applique text, I had to convert it to outlines and then do each and every letter. I don't have to do that anymore. They added in decorative fills and the ability to create decorative fills. There's more stitches. So you got a flexible spiral stitch as well as your decorative fills. It is wireless to certain machines. So if you have a Brother machine that is a Luminaire, any wireless Brother machine, anyone with an internal wireless card will be able to receive it if you have good wireless connectivity in your house. 2.4 gigahertz. But there are really too many for me to even go back and kind of look. I can try to do that for next week, try to give you kind of a rundown of what's there. There's quite a bit. And what I will say is some of the functionality is easier to work with. Each and every time they try to take some of the pain points out of our life. They move things around. The biggest one I will tell you that is my favorite feature of all time is this, because this was a pain point at forever. You've got a design and you want to quilt around it. So I'm just plopping something in here, guys. And you want to quilt around it. Before I had to go to like the embroidered patch wizard or I had to draw around it. So I would have to go to the embroidered patch wizard and put it how far away I want it from my original distance and choose running or cutting. And so then it makes my outline around it. And then I would come in and I would grab my shape and I would make myself a shape. And it had to be filled. And then this one had to be filled as well. So I'd have to turn on some stitches here. And then I would need my fill stitch for this one or whatever I'm planning on doing. Let's see here. Let's say I wanted to stipple, because this was the biggest pain point that we had, in my opinion. Then you had to pick this shape and this shape, select them, modify overlap, set hole sewing. Then you got your hole to where it's not going to stipple over the top of your things, but then you have to go back in and turn off what you don't want to sew. Okay. In 11, they eliminated that pain point. So I'm going to delete all of this. I've got my design on the screen. All I have to do is touch background fill, tell it where I want it to put the fill, tell it whether I want stippling, echoing, or decorative fills. I'm going to go, since you don't have decorative fills, I'll show you that, and cross hatches and stripes. You pick your decorative fill. And by the way, I'll go ahead and use one of these because I'm about to release these. They will probably be done this week. So let's say we want to do these measuring tapes. There you go. And you can say exclude internal patterns, and it will automatically take them out, remove the overlap, basically. Choose how far you want it spaced away. You'll see how it's cut out, that decorative fill. And you don't have to think about it. You don't have to work at it. So that one is probably my favorite feature of all time. They just took out a pain point that was a big pain point that was hard to teach in class, because everybody got lost on how to pick something, and they would inevitably pick something else. I don't know what you're asking me, Marcia. I'm not sure what you're asking me. I mean, if you're just wanting to label it for you to see later, use medical paper tape and write on the top of it with a Sharpie. If you're wanting it permanent, I would do a heat transfer vinyl. So I'm not real sure what you're asking me on that one. I'm not trying to be short. I'm leaving again tomorrow, and y'all know I traveled 2 weeks before that. So my mind is already in packing mode, trying to figure out what to put in the suitcase, because I'm doing a quick turnaround here, and it's a last minute addition to my schedule. So if you're going to be in New Orleans at the OSQE show, I will see you there. That is where I'm headed off to. Sandra, join us there and go back and watch. There are many videos on PE Design 11. And if you're not part of my group, The Education Connection, there is, you can ask questions there. You can ask them here, anywhere you want to go. By the way, guys, Facebook made a change, so I'm not able to go directly live into the Education Connection. I'm going to have to do some workarounds, and I'll have to figure that out. I just found out that they disconnected that happened on the 22nd, and I haven't gone live since then. So I'll try to figure that out and figure out how we're going to go live in there. If you are not a member of that group, you do need to agree to the terms and answer the questions. If you do that, you will be automatically entered to play with us. If you don't do one of those, you're going to sit out there in La La Land for a while until I actually get around to approving it, or actually sending you an email that says, hey, you forgot to do something. What else was I going to tell you? I do believe I will be back again next Tuesday. I will be coming in. Now, Marcia, if you did like the Caesar Easy Weed or the Easy Stretch, Caesar Easy Weed would be what I would do. It's a nice soft, and I don't think you would feel it. It's kind of like the labels that we get in the back of our shirts these days that are not tags, and it would just go right across the back. And that is a nice soft vinyl. That's probably what I would do if you're wanting to go to the inside of a shirt. Okay. I think you'll find that the Caesar Easy Weed is nice and soft. Brothers vinyl is Caesar, so if you find Brother vinyl, that is Caesar as well. Don't do glitter vinyl, but do like the matte finish vinyls or the flat single color vinyls, not glitter. and it should be nice and soft. Okay. Um, um, Gemma, not really. If you've got bald place, it depends. Did you create it yourself or did you convert something to blocks? If you converted something to blocks, then you can use move the edit nodes to take away the gaps. If that's not the case, if it's something you drew, then you're going to have to increase your stitch density in order to get rid of your gaps. Okay. Yeah, flocked vinyl would also work. But that's a little bit stiffer, Jan. So I don't think it would be as soft. If you created it yourself, then you're probably going to need to adjust your density. Or, I mean, look at your stitch direction and see if there's a problem. Did you put undersewing on it? I'd have to look at the design to be able to tell you what I would check and what I would do. So let me see here. I don't think there's anything I haven't asked that I haven't answered that I was supposed to answer. So if not, I'm going to tell you all goodbye for the rest of the day, and I should see you next Tuesday. Thanks for joining me. Look out for the decorative fill collections. They'll either release this week. They'll probably release next week, to be honest. That way I can get coupons going. But if you're a part of the Education Connection, y'all know that usually I release them there first so that I test and make sure everything works out. Y'all are my test monkeys. So that's it. You're my test subjects. There you go. To check and make sure that I didn't do something wrong on my side, like forget to make sure that it has taxes in it, all of those kind of things before I release it to the general public. Working with a few orders versus working with a lot of orders to correct is a whole lot easier. So usually I do that. So you want to see what they are? I have, let's see here, Photoshop. This is your new collection. So I've added 10, there's 10 new sewing crafting themed ones, along with 12 motifs basically. So those are the ones that I'm about to release. Who got kicked off the island, the straight up and down sewing machines, and the seam ripper. So that's what I ended up going with because I feel like the random one will be easier, is more versatile. So this is what you're looking at. This is what is about to release. And I think it's actually one of my favorite collections. Of course, we're all sewing people, so that's kind of what I like. All right, guys, y'all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you later. Bye-bye.